Hello, everyone. My name's Danny Gorog, and I am the CEO of Solve. And I just wanted to thank you all for spending some time with us today and for us to launch our inaugural 2025 Community Satisfaction Index. I've got a few slides to run through to explain a little bit more about the 2025 Community Satisfaction Index. And then I'm going to introduce three of the CEOs who are joining us today to have a chat into community satisfaction, why it's important, how they think about community satisfaction, and what the future looks like. So I'm going to get started with the slides. Just want to start with an acknowledgement of country. So we acknowledge the traditional owners of this land and pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. The area now known as the City of Yarra, where we are, stands on the traditional lands of the Wurundjeri people. So what is the Community Satisfaction Index? Well, it's first of its kind national benchmark of council performance, and it combines the real-time rating data that we get through Solve and also a large-scale survey that we conducted. So the two powerful data sets, if you're familiar with Solve, and I'll show you what the screens look like in a sec, but Solve, after every service interaction, we ask the snapper a couple of weeks later how their experience was, and that's a question about how the experience was with the solver, with the service provider. And then we've got lots of snappers who are keen to give us feedback, and we did a national survey of residents asking them what their priorities were. So we took those two pieces of data and put them together to build an index. With Solve, we get high engagement on our ratings after service interactions. For all of the reports for the last 12 months, the percentage of reports that are rated is 12.7%, which is far higher than what is typical in a council, which is around 2 to 3%. And we provide those satisfaction results free to all councils for every report that gets given a rating. The Community Satisfaction Index reflects the experience of communities served by 190 councils, and it covers almost all the metro residents, 97% of metro residents in those councils, and it covers 88% of Australia's population overall. We couldn't do it for the whole country, for every council, because statistically, we don't have enough data for that. And we think the CSI is going to provide actionable insights. So it highlights the strengths of councils, of areas, improvement areas, and it highlights residents' top priorities. And these can be used to help guide council strategy. And we are planning to do this annually. And what we hope to build over a long period is a consistent, comparable measure which helps guide council priorities year on year. So just to dive a little bit deeper into how the index was built. So we talked about these two data sources. So we did a survey of snappers, 13,700 responses were recorded, and we combined that with over 200,000 in-app ratings from 73,000 unique users. The index is a score from 0 to 100, and it combines all of those bits of data together. We use partial pooling so that councils with fewer ratings are adjusted toward the average to avoid extreme scores from smaller sample sizes. It's great for comparing councils and states, and it's a consistent method across the whole of Australia. And it's really important to highlight this is specifically focused on day-to-day service delivery, and it's not a representative sample. There are other surveys that you will do individually that do that. So just to highlight the ratings flow, if people are unfamiliar with it, 14 days after a report is made, we ask the snapper whether the report was solved, unsolved, or they're not sure yet. And if they provide a response to that, we ask them for 4-star ratings. The first one was, how was your overall experience? And then we dive deep into the communication from the solver, the satisfaction with the solve, and the speed to solve. Right, so they're the four pieces of data we use. In the actual report itself, the structure and the content is made up of the high level index score. So we profile the top 20 councils around Australia, and then there's a page for each state where we profile the top 10 councils in each state. We then talk about resident priorities at both a national, state level, and then an SA4 regional level as well. And it highlights the top performing councils. We've got a few call outs from snappers and solvers and mayors, and it highlights the variation within the state. Just wanted to put up this chart. So the national average is 61.2, and you can see this is the distribution of the of all the councils. You can see it goes from 50s all the way up to nearly 70. And the key insights from the data are the top 20 councils are within 3 points of each other, so 64.2 to 67.4. And the majority of councils cluster around the 59 and 63, between 59 and 63. But across all the councils, the satisfaction scores range from low 50s to 60s. And a 1 point change in the score is statistically significant, and we'll monitor those changes over time. And I haven't put it up, but if you actually drill down into the scores for each state, there is quite a lot of variability, with Western Australia and South Australia skewing higher and Victoria and New South Wales kind of skewing more. There's a more broad distribution there. So without further ado, here are the state-by-state index scores. And the Australian overall average was 61.2. And we had Western Australia, South Australia, Tasmania, Northern Territory and Queensland right on the average. And then we had Victoria and New South Wales and the ACT below the average. Top 20 councils by score. I'm not going to read through the list, but we'll keep this up there for a little bit. And of course, we're going to provide this to you. We're actually going live with the report on Monday. But City of Mandurah took the highest ranking, and there's actually, I think, 23 in this list because there are a few ties. You can see Bundaberg, Latrobe tied, and a few others tied. So we also asked residents about their priorities, and we've broken this down. This is at a national level, but we've actually broken this down on a state by state and also an SA4 regional level. And not surprising to many of you, roads was the number one priority, footpaths and cycling, parking and traffic, parks and gardens, bin and rubbish removal. And this moves around a little bit between states. So, I mean, what does the index tell us? And I think we see this from our data, and we've talked to lots of councils about this, but councils that act swiftly and communicate clearly enjoy higher satisfaction and get better scores. The index enables benchmarking against peers, and it lets us track their progress over time. A 1 point improvement, which I don't think takes a lot, can meaningfully shift public perception and therefore trust. And I guess the key point of this is improved customer experience builds trust, and that empowers councils to make change and improves residents' lived experience. And there's lots of surveys on this, but I found this quote from a McKinsey report from a couple of years ago. Better customer experience strengthens public trust. And part of what we try to do with Snaps and Solve, by making it easy for the community to get involved in the upkeep of the area, is so that they have a better customer experience, and ultimately that provides more trust and confidence in the organisation's ability to deliver. So here's a sneak peek of what the index looks like. It's got lots of data in it, and of course we welcome your feedback as you get to go through it. And now, without further ado, I would love to introduce our panelists for today. I'll start with, I'll get my data up first. So David, have we got David in there? Yeah, great. Okay, thanks, David. Sorry, give me one sec. So David is CEO of the City of Vincent. David has led the City of Vincent since 2018, following senior roles in state government and international diplomacy. He brings deep expertise in planning and policy with a strong focus on innovation, capability building and connected communities. I'd like to introduce Simon McMillan, who's the CEO of Whitehorse City Council. Simon brings over 30 years of experience in local government, including 6 years as the CEO of Whitehorse and 12 years as the CEO of Banyule City Council. He's a qualified urban planner and MBA graduate, and he's leading Whitehorse with a strong focus on strategic growth, planning, community outcomes, and fostering a positive, high-performing organisational culture. And Helen Sue, who's the CEO of Moonee Valley City Council. Helen has over 20 years' experience across local and state government and has led Moonee Valley since 2020, a global executive, MBA graduate, first Chinese-born CEO in Victoria, local government, and brings a strong focus on inclusive community-first leadership. So welcome, Simon, David, and Helen. Thanks for joining us today. Really appreciate your time. I think let's kick things off with just a kind of a simple question, but why is customer satisfaction a priority for your organisation? David, I might throw to you first.
Thanks, Danny, and thanks for the invitation to speak today. Well, we use customer satisfaction to drive overall organisational performance. We're here for our residents and our ratepayers. We're here for our community. And our job is to deliver the highest possible level of service within the resources that we have. So getting that feedback and that data from the community helps us identify where there might be gaps in service levels, opportunities for improvement, and also our residents and ratepayers and our visitors who are out on the street are a huge source of intelligence for us because they might be seeing and picking up things that our staff may not be seeing every day, or they may miss if it's not brought to our attention. So this is extremely valuable for us, and we want to be held to account by our residents, and we want to be held to account by our customers to make sure that we're meeting the expectations that they have because we're here for them.
Great. Helen, can I ask you to help respond to that?
Sure. To me, the community satisfaction, it shows, as you self said, Danny, the community's trust in the council. And like all other councils in Australia, we are funded by our community, our ratepayers. So it's important that our community can see us get a satisfactory experience when they're dealing with council and being responsive. They see the issues are being resolved, and that's fundamentally why we're here for. Thank you.
Simon?
Yeah, thanks, Danny. So, with a large city like Whitehorse, where we offer over 100 services across the city, there's a whole lot of expectations, and as my previous speakers have said, that there's an expectation to not only be responsive, but also to act on learning. So as a local council, we don't always get it right. I want to say that up front. And so how do we learn from that? So the best way we learn from that is through things like customer satisfaction or community satisfaction surveys and responses or feedback generally, because we're trying to foster an agile organisation, and being agile means be able to move quickly with the changes. And what we're seeing in Whitehorse is significant change as a result of a series of developments and things that are going on throughout the city. So we need to be close to our community and be able to respond to them. So feedback is critical, because if we didn't get the feedback, we're possibly operating in the old way that we used to do things, and that's not the way we want to be.
Thanks, Simon. I might stick with you and just sort of dive deeper into that. I mean, one of the things I've noticed in my conversations with CEOs and execs at councils is often the hardest part about becoming a community, a customer oriented organisation is actually the change internally. So I'd love for you just to, and I know we touched on this in our prior conversation, how do you do that? How do you drive that message through the organisation that customer service, customer experience is important? Because typically maybe it hasn't been as important in local government as in other businesses. How do you drive that message into the organisation and make sure it's received?
Yeah, good question, Danny. So I see it as cultural. So it's really important that, and I guess I come from the base where every person, including myself, is a customer service officer, if you like. So whether you're at the front of the counter, whether you're out in the street providing the service on the ground, or whether you're back of house, it's critical that culturally we know that we're here for our customers. And quite often, people and back of house may not realise the importance of just simply responding to something quite quickly that enables an outcome to the customer on the ground. So culturally, and it never ends, I have to say, you're on a culture journey all the time. And that's why I keep coming back to the word agile. So to be agile, we need a culture that enables that. And it puts emphasis on myself as a CEO and senior staff to make sure that we've got the resources, the tools, and the support to get those outcomes and make sure that we continue to be responsive. So there's one key word that I would want to respond to is culture, and that's what drives it.
Helen?
Of course, I do agree with Simon. The culture is absolutely important. The other way probably I see how I put it is, since the customer experience is front and center of everything we do, whether you're dealing with external customer or your internal colleagues, it is about experience, because that makes people more productive. And even you're helping your internal colleagues, you're actually helping them to help the external customer. So end of the day, it's still how we are serving our customers, what is the experience going to be, and what is the outcome for them we're delivering.
And David, how do you communicate the importance of customer satisfaction to your team?
I agree with Simon and Helen on what they've said. It's absolutely an organisational cultural issue. It's a whole of organisation issue. You communicate the importance of it through repetition. So no one gets a chance to forget about this being one of our highest priorities. Council makes it a priority for me in terms of my annual agreement, in terms of the KPIs. I agree with Council, and we've been working on a multi-year customer experience project, which impacts the entire organisation, which reinforces the values, the philosophy behind good customer service, as well as driving the internal changes we need to make internally to make sure we can provide that super fast, responsive, high quality service to our customers.
Yeah, that's great. I'm interested. Apart from the Snaps and Solve data that you receive, what are the other tools that you use to monitor how you're doing, and how often do you monitor those?
Was that for me?
David.
Yeah,
David. I'll go around the circle again.
Well, we do use another platform. Do you want me to mention the names of the providers?
Sure.
At the City of Vincent, we do use the Delighted platform. And like most councils, we're running multiple different types of customer service businesses. We have customer service, obviously, in our library, in our recreational centre, through our waste team, and through all the other different departments at the City of Vincent. So we adapt the Delighted platform to try to get the feedback from our customers or applicants in real time. And that could be through the front desk with the smiley faces, or that can be a smiley face email response back when somebody gets their application approved, if it's a planning application, for instance. We do Net Promoter Score over at our recreation centre, we call Beatty Park. And I'm pretty sure, just like Simon and Helen, when you're a CEO in local government, if your residents are unhappy with their customer service, you'll hear about it. hopefully you hear about it before the mayor and your councillors hear about it as well. But if you don't hear about it first and your mayor hears about it as well, then you'll need to be able to explain where something may not have gone as well as the customer expected. And you do, in local government, you can't run away, you can't hide from having very, very direct and immediate feedback from residents and ratepayers about how well you're performing. And we do get some very positive responses as well, but obviously there will always be a gap between the demand for what we deliver as a local government and our resources at any particular day to be able to respond sometimes as quickly as people would like.
Yeah, thanks, David. Helen, what are the tools that you use to track customer experience and satisfaction?
I mean, in Victoria, we do statutory every year. There is a community satisfaction survey, and we take that extremely seriously, obviously, and looking into the data dive deep. Also, day to day, we do, apart from USS is one of the channels. Also, council ourselves, we have our own customer response management portal, so people can choose to look on the council's website, put things they all they love to call our call center, and we recently introduced the post-call survey as well. So that number of ways, and of course, social media for any posts, people may put different reaction or issue or reporting things face-to-face. We run lots of events, and it's great opportunity to catch up with people. So listen to people's feedback, and agree with David is you do want to hear that before your elected members hear them. But it's also good as a community gives the feedback because they see the issues before us. So we want to say that as well as a good thing they're reporting. We want them to reporting because they help us to improve.
Thanks, Helen. Simon?
Yeah, so similar to probably David and Helen, but specifically to Helen. So in Victoria, we have the Community Satisfaction Survey, which does guide us and help us. And what's been good, it's been a tool that's been around for many, many years. So we can benchmark how we've performed over that period of time. And sometimes that's hard reading because sometimes you're doing really well, and in others you fall back, and then you try and determine, okay, where can we improve? So we do also a number of other internal surveys. In fact, Whitehorse, I think, was before me, so I can't take any credit on it, but was an early adopter of Snaps and Solve. So we have designed a lot of our responses and processes around Snaps and Solve, which has been really helpful. We also do things like the mystery caller and mystery shopper type thing, where so we can understand what the experience is like. But also, and more recently, just monitoring and tracking the type of call and experience that people are having, and opening up also management to be more responsive to the issues that when people call through or there's a challenge. So, for example, a customer can ring me at any time if there's an issue. I mean, I'll try and respond when I can. I also spend time from time to time on the phones in the call centre just to hear what's going on, and that's quite interesting, and I actually quite enjoy it. Sometimes the biggest challenge is for me to get off the phone, which apparently I'm told I get off, but that's okay. I just enjoy that sort of thing. So yeah,
it must be amazing when a resident calls the call centre and gets the CEO. That's cool.
I'm mostly listening, but okay. At times should provide a response.
Okay. So, I'm interested. I guess as a ratepayer, I know how my expectations have changed as a ratepayer. But what does the future look like? What does the next 5 to 10 years look like in terms of the evolution of how councils deliver community satisfaction engagement? Are you seeing, and I do want to get on to the role of AI in customer experience and how you're thinking about that in a little bit, but I'm interested to know, what does the future look like? And maybe if you can talk to some of the of the brands or the experiences that you have as people in the world that you kind of go, would be so good to be able to emulate that experience for our residents? Simon, I'll start with you.
Yeah, no, thanks, Danny. So I think particularly, and like most things, I think COVID, whilst it was a challenge during that time, it was also a huge opportunity where we had to, and I hate using this word because it's used all the time, pivot, but we had to definitely change our practices in terms of being able to respond, and that actually made us much more focused on the technology we provide. So, for example, people, the level of responsiveness, just the phone call or coming into a front counter to attend to a customer service issue is now almost history. It's part of a process, but not a main part of it. So obviously, online, social media, social opportunities, there's an expectation. In fact, we learn a lot from Facebook and those sorts of things. And I'm pleased to say that Whitehorse, I think we've partnered with Manningham. We've also now taken on WeChat because you may or may not be aware, but the population of Whitehorse, particularly 44.9% of our population speak a language other than English, and Chinese and Mandarin is a high proportion of that again. So we now participate in that forum just to ensure that we're part of understanding what's going on at Whitehorse. So that's been a real learning for us. So I think, Danny, that's probably the key points I'd make. But I think really response, being quick to respond, but also closing the loop is the other part. There's an expectation that, and I think you mentioned at the beginning, the experience and the action, and then it's that follow-up, because haven't been always terrific. We go out and we might fix the thing or do the thing, but do we check the satisfaction? And that's probably something we've still got to work on.
Yeah, my insight on that is that councils do an incredible job in the community, but they don't get the praise they deserve, because they just, it falls off at that last bit of where you can kind of go, close the loop, we've done it, here's the picture, thanks for your service. That's an incredible experience, and I think there's a huge opportunity. I think what we see in the data is the councils that do that well, that communicate well, that close the loop well, get better, get higher in the index. Helen, how do you see customer experience changing for councils in the next 5 to 10 years?
Before I say that, really interesting what you just said, Danny, close the loop. Yeah, I do agree that certainly there's a lot we can do. And also local government job is, you do lots of hard work. You may get a thank you, you may not, but that's part of our job. And that's, is our duty bound. So how do I see future is really, I always see water industry generally does better, I think, than councils about when you have an issue, you go to say, okay, or electricity, when is my water going to June? Basically, it's very accurate. So my thinking of the future customer service, where they should be able to access council service and access information at their citizen, whether it's home or they want to come to council. When it's convenient for them, they maybe a night hour only have time at 3 a.m. to can log on onto a computer. And add a means that is suitable to them, whether it's device, computer, phone, or they want face-to-face chat. So it's really about how it's convenient. That's why to have the digitalization of the information and interactive, as you say, closed loop, actually is the interactive conversation. Like many councils, we are working, probably starting from planning. How about with my planning permit? Okay, have a not just one-way conversation. You actually can have the same channel, get a response, you have follow-on questions. That's what I see is a future for all of the main services.
Thanks. David, throw to you.
Thanks, Danny. I think you asked about some models that we might refer to. I think the biggest change in my lifetime in terms of customer service and customer experience would be our personal banking, between what you remember and understand of going into the bank for me as a kid in the 1980s, evolving into the mid 1990s. And I don't know when the pivot changed, but first of all, lots of bank branches started closing, particularly in country towns and smaller centres throughout Australia. But when you did go into a bank at some point, you got this amazing concierge service where you're no longer separated by this perspex glass, this high security environment, big separation between the bank staff and the customers, and you're taking a ticket and up in a queue. So that whole experience of walking into a bank now is unrecognizable from what it was in the 1980s and 1990s. But it's quite rare that you need to walk into a bank these days, because the investment that banks have become big IT companies. Basically, they put so much investment into their apps, and I don't know if you wanted me to name my personal banking provider that I use, but the app that they have developed is unbelievably good and user friendly, that even I can use it, which is saying something, and it alleviates the need to make a phone call. You've also got the chat option. So I think banks in Australia are leading the way in terms of that customer service and customer experience for that interface, both the in-person, telephone, and online applications.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Which bank are you with, David?
I bank with the Commonwealth, and so does the City of Vincent.
Okay. That's good. That's good. Well, I actually,
that is brilliant.
Yeah, in a former life, we did a lot of work for ANZ building their app and NAB, and yeah, I think that's right. It's an amazing model how they've adopted technology and how we all bank so differently. My kids don't even know where the bank branches are. They would never think about having to go to a physical branch to do anything. So it is, and I guess there is a demographic within all of your councils where there would be no consideration for them to come into a customer service centre and actually talk to a human. And I think SAPS and Solve is part of that shift. If I can do something easily on my phone without complexity, let me do it, make it easy for me. I think that's, to me, when I look at customer experience and the experiences I have, that's what I look for in brands that I work with. So we've got about sort of 10.
Can I make one more comment? And I'm not sure about Helen and Simon, but the big change also for City of Vincent in terms of that experience, one of the biggest pain points, and this picks up in your survey, is around car parking and car parking management. And the way we're developing our car parking business and management system is, again, unrecognizable from having to put coins in the machine, just over 10 years ago, probably, but using the apps which are now available, trying to get people out of having to need a ticket on the dashboard. So trying to take the pain out of car parking, because it's a huge amount of pain management as well as parking management in a parking area like an inner city area like the City of Vincent. Yeah.
Totally, that's another great example. So with a few minutes to go, I would like to. I know AI is the flavour of the moment. I would like to hear your thoughts about how you're thinking about AI at an organisational level, and then if you're thinking about it, how does it help with customer service, responding to customers? I'm not sure. So David, why don't we start with you?
Thanks. I think my comment would be about technology in general, because we'd all be trying to improve our internal systems and technology we're currently using to track the customer relations team, call center, the websites, web chat, and the like. And you need technology to deal with the high volume, simple, low complexity requests, and need to be able to move that efficiently through a triage system using the current technology that's available. And the reason why you need to invest in that is in order to maintain enough staff time to be able to give the personalised face-to-face or telephone contact for those residents and customers who either don't want to or don't know how to engage with the technology platforms. And AI is going to radically change that as well, like all the other technologies we've been dealing with, moving from just phone calls and in-person to emails first, and then the website and web forms, and now web chat. AI will do a brilliant job at triaging and hopefully being able to be intuitive around what customers need to be able to direct them to the right information that they'll be able to get 24 hours, 7 days a week, and hopefully alleviate the pressure on our otherwise very busy customer relations team and call centre.
Okay, thanks. Helen, how's Moonee Valley thinking about AI?
We actually are already doing some internal work, primarily on a number of matters. First is the AI governance policy, because you do want to make sure how is appropriately used, so it doesn't expose the organization to the governance risk or liabilities. And we also are starting from internally in a safe way using the AI. Well, there are some no risk market ones, but many of the information we are dealing with probably is council specific, so we are dealing in a safe way. But for customer service, what they can use is actually the tools is AI can very efficiently help analyze the data information, collect, as David mentions. Also, at this stage, you do need a level of the human intervenes and judgment, making sure actually they are accurate and also reliable. So we certainly are still at the early stage, but we very excited about the future.
Simon?
Yeah, so a bit like Helen. So we've had actually really good interest from our staff to pursue it as an opportunity. And in fact, this week we had a bit of a workshop with the executive and management about how we're prepared to utilise it. So it was very interesting sitting around the table to see how either excited we were or a bit reserved. I was somewhere in the middle because I'm sort of that conservative. How do I respond to this? But what we will see and are seeing now, all generations are potentially using AI in some form. And what we will see is very articulate community inquiry. So through AI, they'll be able to articulate. In fact, they'll reference verse and chapter, pieces of legislation, stats and data that we will have to be ready for. So, and very quickly, because the delivery of the customer inquiry is going to be very quick. It's going to be detailed. And then our ability to respond is going to be equally necessary to be quick, and also make sure it's quite important that we've got the facts right going back. The other element too, which I do just want to hone in on quickly, is that we can't forget the community that want that human relationship as well. So the organisation and the city will need to make sure that we continue to provide that, because if we get very much caught up in the AI opportunities, if you like, we've got to make sure that for those, and we've got an ageing population here in Whitehorse, like probably most of Australia. So we've got to make sure, and not to say, in fact, some of our biggest users of AI will probably be some of our senior citizens across Whitehorse and Australia. But we've got to make sure we have that door open and just as responsive to them as well.
Yeah, I think they're really good, all good points. And I think my reflection on AI is just how quickly, I've seen a few technology waves in my life, and just how quickly AI has just become part of the conversation. It's a tool that everyone uses. My father, who's nearly 80, uses it all the time. My daughter, who's 11, uses it all the time. So it's got broad application. I think, Simon, your point about how easy it makes producing high quality written content, how easy it makes it. I think that is it's going to be an interesting challenge for authorities, and because it does make it easier to kind of put in a request that is maybe more formal than otherwise it would have been. Yeah, fascinating. So we have, I know we've only got a few minutes left. There is one, I'm going to use this feature because we've got it. I'm going to try and add this to see how cool that is. So someone has asked, Nicola has asked, I'm curious about blind spots that might be highlighted by the data, things like approximate proportion of active snappers per council, certain demographics being more or less advantaged. And I think this question is about Snap, Send, Solve and the Snap, Send, Solve users. And the way I would respond to that, and I'm not sure if you've got any insights on that, but when we look at our data, there's quite a variety of people who use Snap, Send, Solve across the community. It can be from young to old people. In fact, I would say that in general, the older demographic who are out walking during the day are using Snap, Send, Solve because they feel like it's an easy tool for them to use. It's easy for them to get their message across. I think my comment is that some councils do a really good job of promoting Snap, Send, Solve to the community. I think, we've got 3 great representations on the screen. And I think the better a job the council does, and the easier they make it, the more broad the base of Snap, Send, Solve users. People with little English is an interesting one. Actually, we work with Whitehorse on a Chinese translated version of Snap, Send, Solve. So if you have your phone set to Chinese in Whitehorse, you'll get the experience will be Chinese based. And then at the other end, we've got, I think, Google Translate that's translating the messages from Chinese back to English so that the customer service people at Whitehorse can then respond to the. So, that's an interesting one. But I think this is largely driven by what the council want and how widely they promote something like Snap, Send, Solve. Are there any comments from the panel on that?
I might just comment, Danny, quickly that whilst I don't have any specific data on the breakdown of age categories or generations, but I would say that a fair proportion of the snappers, if you like, that are involved in, because we get over 24,000 Snap, Send, Solves here at Whitehorse, they're broad. Equally, we get snappers who are not residents or community members of Whitehorse. In other words, they're travelling through. And so as they're travelling through, tourists, for example, they're not going to come to an office and lodge a complaint. They just want to deal with it. And the fact that they know they can do it from our website, that's really good.
Yeah, that's great. Well, David or Helen, any sort of final last words?
Helen, do you want to go first?
You can go first, David.
Only to comment that that last point that Simon made. Obviously, our residents or the people out on the street who are snapping and sending in these requests, my sense is that they'd be the more community-minded, civically minded residents who care about the pothole in the road, they care about the cracks in the footpaths, they care about the graffiti, or they don't like the graffiti that's been going up, or they can see an issue in terms of park maintenance or dumped rubbish. So the people out there snapping are a great resource and source of intelligence for us, and we want to be able to respond to them because they're taking the time not just to worry about what's happening directly outside their home, but they're taking time and energy to participate in maintaining the city of Vincent in as pristine a state as possible, to make sure it's green, vibrant, and safe for everybody. So we really value the information we get from the app and the requests that we get, and we want to be able to continually improve year on year on how we're able to respond to the snaps we're receiving.
That's great. Thanks, David. Helen?
Thank you. Yes, thanks for all the snappers and all the people who give us feedback, reporting issues, and also when you send the snappers, please always remember put the location.
Yeah, we try to reiterate that, and we try to make it as easy as we can, but there's always obviously room for improvement. All right, well, that was really great. I just wanted to again thank Simon, Helen, David for joining today. Really appreciate it. We were, I think you talk about customer experience, and I think that is a very cultural thing, and it's driven by the top, and all of the councils we've got here are in the top 20, and I think That's recognition of the work you do, of the culture that you sort of set. And it's been great having you on the panel and hearing from you, hearing your insights and hearing your expertise. It's clear you're all super passionate about what you do, and I think we need to tell that story to the public more and more, because I think that, you know, one of the great things that we can do together is just communicate what a difference councils make and how important councils are to local communities. And I think, to David's point, snappers care about their communities. They want to give back. They want to contribute, and it's a really easy way, a win-win way for sort of everyone in the loop to get more out of it. So I guess that brings to an end the panel. Register for a copy of the Community Satisfaction Index online on our website. We'll be delivering it on Monday. We will be sending a physical copy, talking about banks and old branches. We will be delivering a physical copy to all the councils in Australia. And this is the first one we've done. We would love your feedback, comments, queries. We're open to it, and we do plan to do this annually. So yeah, any feedback you've got, please get in touch with us. And thank you again.
Thank you.